Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two pickup trucks making love, American made.
Listen up, Autobots and Decepticons. You're listening to Prime Cuts, non-linear history of the Transformers franchise on television. I'm one of your hosts, Audrey.
I'm the other host, Nero.
We get a couple of really interesting episodes tonight. The first one has perhaps the horniest moment in the entire history of the franchise, followed by an entire episode of, like, Cronenberg-esque horror.
You know, I was trying to think of something to dispute you, but I can't really bring anything hornier to mind.
It's really horny! Like,
yeah, I think
shockingly
you're right.
horny.
Yeah. It was wild. I screen captain and put it in Discord, like, what's happening here? What's going on here?
Here's the thing. The screenshot does not capture how horny it is, because you really gotta hear the voice acting.
Yeah, it does not capture Steve Bloom's, like, sensual growl. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We watched episode 6 of season 1, Masters and Students, and episode 7, Scrap Heap. Our first proper episodes of Transformers Prime here after the 5-part premiere. And I appreciate that there's not really, like, a set structure for these episodes yet. Like, where there's no MacGuffins to go after. We're just kind of doing stuff.
Yeah,
it's hanging out.
It's interesting. So, again, Megatron is presumed dead. We can start going into this. But, like, Megatron is presumed dead, and it sort of has the answer to the question of, like, for these couple episodes at least, of, like, what happens when Megatron or Optimus dies, but the other one's still around? Like, the war's still going.
We saw a little bit of that in Armada, where the inverse happened.
Yeah.
And Megatron was just real aimless and weird about it. And
but by that point, he was already in, like, endgame stuff.
Yeah. Here, we're at the very opening stages, and we'll hear Optimus's thoughts on that later. But first, I just want to appreciate how this episode begins with Starscream rewinding and playing the clip of Megatron getting blown the fuck up over and over again.
Yeah.
Like a little fucking sicko.
Yeah, again, we are going to see a lot of weird stuff between him and Megatron throughout this series. Their relationship is very complicated.
This is only the beginning.
Only the beginning.
And after getting his morning hit of watching Megatron get blown up, he's like, Soundwave, I must address my troops. Patch me into every screen on the ship. And he gives this fucking huge, grandiose speech about how, like, despite Megatron's death, we must press on, and don't you worry, I will lead us into a glorious new future. And then some guy walks up and says, hi, Mr. Starscream.
I think this is the first time this is Steve.
This is probably Steve. This will probably end up becoming Steve.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, Mr. Starscream, I just have a question.
Well, very importantly, he says, excuse me, Commander Lord Starscream.
Yes. He's like, well, we've been fighting the Autobots for, like, a fucking million years or whatever under Megatron, and we weren't able to win under him. So, like, why do you think you can win? I mean, it's just asking questions here.
Now, to be fair to Starscream, I will say, and I'm not sure why none of the Viacon sort of recognized this, but if you look at their recent history, Starscream actually has a much higher kill count of Autobots than Megatron does.
That's true. Killed one last Wednesday. But Starscream, it's very funny. This caused him to go on this like whole thing. I have studied under Lord Megatron for eons. I am his one true heir to the Decepticon throne, and I will be the new Emperor of Destruction. And all the VI can just kind of go, yeah, okay, sure.
And
By the way,
he complains at Soundwave about it.
Yes, he's like, why don't they like me? Fun fact about the title Emperor of Destruction, that is a title, I forget where it comes from. I think either the Marvel Comics or the Headmasters use that as the title for the commander of the Decepticons, who normally don't really have a title associated with leading them like say a Prime.
Right.
As a title often associated with leadership. But that's just an interesting little continuity bit of dropping the title there.
Yeah, so he's complaining to Soundwave, and Soundwave's like, nothing, because Soundwave doesn't say anything. And what is interesting, though, at this point, and I think, again, I find Soundwave and Starscream's dynamic to be one of the more interesting dynamics in the show, because I think there is a level of two-way trust. I think Starscream certainly trusts Soundwave more than Soundwave trusts Starscream, but there isn't the sort of kind of automatic doubt that comes from Soundwave. And this continuity that necessarily comes from other ones, and again, in our establishing episode of Prime, Starscream had been leading the Decepticons pretty well over 3 years. So he had done enough to sort of build that trust. But, it's clear here in the way that he talks to Soundwave that he considers Soundwave something of a confidant. Even if that just is because he mistakenly thinks he's talking to a brick wall that won't do anything about it. But
listen, you gotta watch over the requirements. Yeah, it is interesting because also it feels like that dynamic is kind of done by the end of this episode, because now it's like, well, shit, everyone's got secrets to keep from each other.
Yes and no. I mean, the way it continues throughout the series is, again, as you see with all Soundwaves, his ultimate loyalty is always going to be to Megatron. But it is sort of in absence of Megatron, what the Soundwave do that I find really interesting. Because not only is in other continuities, does Soundwave not trust Starscream, but they are openly antagonistic to each other. Mm-hmm. Very openly hostile to each other. So do you have anything where to have a relationship where, again, even if it's not reciprocated, that Starscream feels comfortable enough around Soundwave, who historically is known for giving people the heebie-jeebies because he's a telepath, and a spy, and whatever, it is, I think, an interesting dynamic. But he's basically complaining to Soundwave, and Soundwave doesn't say anything back, and Starscream goes, I know, but I need to really establish myself as a master is to get a student of my own, and I know where there's the most powerful student I could think of. Damn it, Primus said it's my turn to be the Sith Lord.
Yeah, we're into some real rule of two shit here. He says, I know where a very large man is buried, and we're gonna go find him, Soundwave. So then we get our first actual opening, which you've been hearing at the end of all these episodes, the actual song, but we got our first opening. It's all, instrumental, like we said in the previous couple episodes, live action movie inspired music. So then we're at the auto base, and Optimus is just sort of staring off into space, and Ratchet's like, I kind of thought you'd be a little more jazzed about Megatron being dead and all. You basically won.
Optimus is like, yeah, but I could fix him.
And Ratchet's like, no, you couldn't. Ratchet
and Starscream about to start a club about how annoying their partners are over their exes.
Absolutely. Yeah, that Ratchet's basically, he's like, no, you couldn't have fixed him. He was, that guy's a grade A sicko. He was shoving devil blood into his chest.
And Optimus just doesn't say anything, and Ratchet's like, sorry, I know you guys have a lot of history.
Yes, yeah, now you have a history.
I guess.
Then some things explode. as Optimus is saying, like, and we shouldn't let our guard down too much because, you know, even though Megatron is dead, Starscream is, like, still a threat. So something explodes. They both run over there thinking it's some kind of Decepticon trap, but it turns out it's just a papier-mâché volcano.
It's Raph's
Kids are working on their science project.
Yes, it's Raph's papier-mâché volcano. And Ratchet takes umbrage to with Bumblebee and Bulkhead and Arcee diverting their resources to things they know nothing about. And he says, you know, so Raph is building a volcano, Miko's trying to do a science project about planets, and he looks at Bumblebee, is like, what does Bumblebee know about your volcanoes? Or Bulkhead about your solar system? And then he turns over to, like, Jack and Arcee, who are working on a motorcycle, and Jack goes, Arcee know about motorcycles? Like, what are you talking about?
But it's funny because shortly we learn that Arcee knows fuck all about motorcycles because she's like, does this doohickey go in here? And Jack's like, you're literally a motorcycle. Why don't you know how to build an engine? And she's like, yeah, you're literally a human, Jack. How about you build me a working model of a small intestine?
Yeah. It's really good. The dialogue. There are so many times in this episode where I laughed out loud. A lot of it was, like, pretty good physical comedy, actually.
Yes.
But, yeah.
And Optimus, of course, is Dadimus Prime here, and he's like, I don't know, Ratchet, I think it's a perfectly valid exercise to kind of learn more about our new home by helping our human friends with their schoolwork. And Ratchet grumbles for a little bit, because he is shifting into what I have down here as scientific tsundere mode, where he wants to do science experiments, but he thinks he's above all these other shitty little science experiments that the humans are doing. And he's getting a little bit Herbert from Reanimator here in this episode. It keeps coming up. He will at various points in this series he will go Herbert mode.
I mean, there's one point in particular where he goes very Herbert mode. We are not anywhere near there yet.
This is like a shade of it. This is like the kind of this is foreshadowing to going Herbert mode. So while they're kind of talking about this, we cut over to Starscream and Soundwave.
They get a ping, don't they?
No. Oh yeah, they get a ping because what's happening is, like, well, first we see Starscream and Soundwave in the desert looking for guys. And they're not finding anything.
Right,
so Starscream tells Soundwave to like boost his signal. So they locate the guy, and the thing that Optimus picks up is they brought an Energon cube with them to reawaken the big guy, and the Optimus sees, oh, there's some Energon in transit. The Decepticons are probably up to something. We should go and check that out. Before that though, Raph and Bumblebee are talking about how Bumblebee, you know, isn't a warrior class yet. We get a little detail about the Autobot rank structure, I guess, because Bumblebee currently is a scout, and he's trying to graduate into being a warrior.
Yeah.
And, you know, Optimus is like, I understand Bumblebee. He's a great fighter, but Raph, you need to understand that Autobot life cycles are very long, and so these things take more time.
We blink and you die.
Yeah, basically is what he says. So that's when they get the blip. Optimus is like, hey, Ratchet, you want to go out on another date? And Ratchet says, actually, I kind of want to stay here and help with the science project.
He's like, Optimus, they're so stupid. It's making me crazy.
Yeah, he's like, I got to fix all this. And Optimus is like, okay, Bumblebee, let's go. Let's roll out.
But this is the most, like, endearing coupleship shit ever, where Optimus is like, okay, if you say so, Ratchet, I would love to have you with me, but Ratchet's like, no, I'm needed here, and, like, Optimus just, like, smiles indulgently at him. They're so obnoxious.
So he and Bumblebee head out instead. We see Starscream and Soundwave. They put the cube in the casket, And
They found the casket, first of all.
They found the casket. They put the cube in the casket, and out pops a very large man named Skyquake.
Yeah.
Who is like a legendary Decepticon warrior left here eons ago by Megatron to like guard this world's energon deposits.
Now, can we talk about who voices Skyquake?
Oh, sure. I actually forgot to look that up.
Yeah, Skyquake is voiced by Richard Green, who I'm not sure if anyone knows offhand. He's done like a bunch of stuff in the like Diniverse DCAU.
He sounded like a BTAS voice actor for sure, like that stock.
Yeah. But what he's probably most well known for is playing the magician in Mulholland Drive.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I think David Lynch should make a Transformers movie. I think that'd be good.
That'd be great.
So anyway, Skyquake awakens from his million-year nap to Starscream's like self-important blustering about how I have awakened you and together your great deeds shall raise me, shall put my name in the heavens. And he's like, and Skyquake's like, yeah, okay, whatever, you dumb little twink. Where's Megatron?
He's like, the way he phrases it is great, because what he says is, I am loyal to only one master. And Starscream's like, yes, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Your loyalty is appreciated and will be vastly rewarded. And Skyquake's like, no, you misunderstand me. I am loyal only to Megatron. And Starscream's like, well, Megatron's fucking dead, so learn how to get loyal to me real quick.
And so Skyquake doesn't take that news too kindly, and it looks about ready to snap Starscream over his knee like a Kit Kat bar when Optimus shows up. And he and Skyquake have a little moment that they fought long ago. They got history. And it's great because like Starscream is over Skyquake's shoulder the whole time. Doing a sort of worm tongue routine, like, yes, my great warrior, go and fell Optimus Prime for me. You shall be this will be my key to greatness. And Skyquake just backhands him into a canyon wall, and he runs away.
And this is the first of many times that Starscream will go, if it sucks, hit the bricks! You can just walk out!
More than most other Starscreams, this Starscream understands the value of a tactical retreat. So yeah, it's so funny because he flies up to where Soundwave has been sitting here watching the whole thing, and he goes like, well, he's a little bit of a problem child, but I think I can get him on my side.
Yeah.
And
he's like,
course,
don't judge me, real winners quit.
Yeah. And this is great because then he's like, all right, Soundwave, I need you to record all this for World Star. We got to film all this shit. We're going to put it on Live Leak.
Yeah, this is going straight on Nico.
So, like, all right, so he's big. Skyquake and Optimus get ready to start fucking rumbling here. And Skyquake is at first beating Prime's ass, like handing his ass to him on a silver platter. But eventually Bumblebee, he's been ordered to stay back and, be a lookout by Prime, gets tired of watching his father figure get swung around like a fucking ham hock on a stick. So he decides to jump on in.
Now, 2 versus 1. Is it sporting? No. Is it effective? Yes.
Does Skyquake have a minigun? Also, yes.
Right.
So that sort of puts a damper on the 2 versus 1 thing, and it's great because after a while, Prime realizes something.
Yes.
Which is, hey, this guy doesn't have an alternate mode yet. Let's just drive away and get to a more advantageous battlefield. The last
time Skyquake was around for this was awake. Humans hadn't invented machines yet.
Humans might not have even been there yet.
Yeah. It was
who knows
a long
how long
time
ago this motherfucker was out here.
It was a long time ago.
Now, please ignore all of the plane bits currently hanging off of Skyquake. They didn't have the money to make a Cybertronian form for him.
Well, Well,
Ignore that.
here's the thing, right? Is that, like, the implication has always been that, like, or at least, I think in Prime, at least, in sort of the aligned universe, at least, the implication has always been that they have the parts for general, they have the capability in their root modes for general classes of alt mode. So
yeah, like, Skyquake was definitely a jet guy.
Right, yeah. So, the wings, I mean, who knows with the rings? Maybe they fold up into a tri, like a tri-jet. It's impossible to say.
So while that's happening, we cut back to Auto Base, and as I said, Ratchet
Well, before we cut back to Auto Base, as they watch very quickly, from their perch.
I think there's a very quick cut.
There?
Like,
okay.
This is barely a C plot. This is like, cause it's just Ratchet, like, control freaking everything and basically taking over all the kids' projects, and everyone else standing around going, "This kind of sucks."
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Then we cut to Starscream and Soundwave watching from the DVZ clip, and Soundwave was like, "Hey, boss, find another Decepticon life signal."
Yeah, so he just turns to Starscream and he points this, like, and there's a blip of a life signal on his visor, and Starscream's like, "Yeah, that can't be right. I'm like 100% certain Skyquake's the only corpse in this area, or not corpse, but sleeper agent, literal sleeper agent." In this,
he's the only guy taking a nap around here, and then he realizes,
well,
wait.
Yeah, and Soundwave just sort of, like, pushes his head closer to Starscream, and he's like, "Wait a minute, that's the part in space, and like, where the space bridge was." And he's like, "Soundwave, that's ludicrous, come on. Like, we were both there, you saw him, there's no way that Megatron survived that, and I want you, do not bother me with this shit again. I'm in mourning, okay? You should be in mourning too. This is just, like, untactful, honestly. This is, like, rude. Delete that, delete the coordinates. I'm like, I don't want to see this again. I'm disgusted, frankly."
And what I love about Soundwave, he doesn't even echo anything. He just stares at him until Starscream's like, "Okay, fine, I'll go look."
Well, he turns around from himself and goes like, "Sorry, like, what was I thinking? What was I talking about? Of course, if there's a chance that Lord Megatron is alive, that he must be retrieved, I will personally go." And he's like, "I'm gonna kill him if he's still alive," very, very clearly. Like, "I will personally go and check the signal. You continue to watch this to the end. When Optimus dies, I must have the video so I can bear witness. Like, I will bear witness." And he flies off, and Soundwave watches him go, and then releases Laserbeak and repeats Starscream's "I will bear witness."
Yep. Because he knows, listen, that guy was acting kind of shady. I gotta go make sure this is all on the up and up.
I love Prime Soundwave so much.
He's a fucking smooth operator. So he continues filming for World Star here. So, like, we this is when we get introduced. So they're like, all right, well, thank goodness there are no vehicles in the area for Skyquake to scan. And then we see Agent Fowler flying in.
Just before that, so, like, they were retreating, but then they, like, go back to fight again. I don't remember why, that they decided that engaging Skyquake and fighting was a good idea. But this is...
I think they might have, like, run into a canyon wall.
Oh, maybe that was it. But this is sort of one of the nicest things about Prime, and we've talked about this before, but the fight choreography in Prime is excellent. Yep. And this is one of the first, like, really good fights we get to see. And there's a great shot of Optimus charging full keel in truck mode towards Skyquake, transforming out of it and using the momentum to just slug him onto his ass.
Yeah, he does a fucking Superman punch out of truck form, and of course, you know he honks the horn.
Yeah, he go honk honk. But yeah.
And so they have Skyquake dead to rights here. He is on his back. They got the guns pointed at him. And then Fowler, who has, received reports of Cybertronian activity, is flying over to check it out. And immediately Optimus is like, "Hey, Fowler, you gotta leave. Leave right now immediately,
Yeah,
please.
he is not in his helicopter this time. This time he is in a fighter jet because fuck you.
Still wearing a suit.
Still wearing a
suit, no flight suit. He's just that cool. But unfortunately, Skyquake gets a good look at that jet. And manages to slide out of the way and says, "Air superiority achieved."
Yeah, and Optimus is like, Fowler, wake up, you fucked up big time. And Fowler opens his eyes and goes, Prime.
And then Skyquake starts strafing the fuck out of Optimus.
Well, actually, what he says is, well, I'll be a bald eagle.
Yes. Well, I'll be a bald eagle. Now here we get to see a little bit of Fowler's got some moves here because he like pulls Skyquake away from Prime and Bumblebee by engaging him in a dogfight and not immediately getting blown up. I mean, we already saw his like flight skills as an ace pilot when he fought Laserbeak in episode 3, I think. So like he knows his way around a joystick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To be fair, Laserbeak did beat his ass that time.
Yeah, but you know, it was a protracted dogfight.
Yeah.
So we cut back up to space. Starscream is at the space bridge, and he's like, "Well, clearly, no one's alive around here. It was just a false reading. I'm gonna head back over and tell Soundwave that it was all false." And then he hears in the distance,
And Starscream's like, "Fuck."
Yep. So he's like, so he flies over there. He sees Megatron's barely functioning, scorched Hulk.
And then Starscream turns and looks directly into the camera and goes, "Things are gonna get weird. I'm gonna make it weird."
Yeah. So first he kind of floats over there and investigate. How the fuck are you alive? Megatron jump scares him briefly before falling back unconscious. And Starscream realizes, there's a piece of dark energon still jammed in your spark.
I want to be clear about like the positioning of this because it's very important to understand how horny this scene is. So
please paint us a word picture.
Yeah, so Megatron is like flat on his back floating in space, and Starscream decides to essentially cover him with his entire body. Like, he is all but straddling him. And covers him with his entire body, and then, like, sees this huge hole in his chest and realizes that it's a dark energon. And he reaches his hand into the hole in Megatron's chest, grips the dark energon, leans down into Megatron's ear, and in the most sensual voice Steve Bloom, I presume, could muster, goes, "Well, if everyone thinks you're dead, and if they do, then who am I to disappoint them, master?" And yanks the dark energon out. And it's like, what is happening here?
Yeah, it's crazy. So he is about to, like, kick Megatron's corpse into oblivion when he hears a funny little guy flying around and realizes, oh shit.
Oh, actually, he basically does. That's like the last part. Yeah. Oh, right. So he takes the Megatron before Laserbeak gets there. He takes the dark energon and like pulls it out, and then he goes, "And this time stay dead." And with one of his fine stiletto heels, kicks Megatron's corpse away.
Yep.
From him.
And then Laserbeak shows up and Starscream's like, yes, hello Soundwave, hi. And he's like, it's so funny, he's like hiding the dark energon shard behind his back as he's like rotating to face Laserbeak. He's like, yep, you were right. Found Megatron up here, but boy, he's in a real bad way. We gotta get him to med bay. Clearly very unhappy about being discovered.
Yeah.
He like stows the dark energon crystal in like some storage panel. Because Laserbeak keeps trying to get a peek at whatever the fuck he's holding behind his back. He's just like, what do you got there? What do you got back there?
What you doing with that dark energon? Gonna try to kill me? Better make it count.
So we cut back to the ground, the air, ground, earth, Skyquake. Bumblebee has been doing some parkour up this canyon to get onto a better level with Skyquake, and he performs some jet judo. He hops onto Skyquake as he's passing by here, and he just sort of reaches in there and just starts tearing stuff out.
It is like gnarly the amount of like insides that are ripped out of this show.
He's just reaching in there and pulling out Skyquake's guts.
War is hell, but my god.
Skyquake is in a death spin, and so Optimus is like, hey, Fowler, I need you to fly up alongside them so Bumblebee does not also die here. So Bumblebee hops onto Fowler's jet, as Skyquake plummets to the ground, and this is the most horrifying part of all. We see when Optimus and Bumblebee go to inspect the corpse that in the last minute he tried to transform because his head is sticking out of the mangled plane wreckage.
Yeah, he's super dead.
Yeah, this is not a Megatron situation. This man is dead as fuck.
He's super dead. I want to like talk about the number of characters that have been straight up murdered in like very visceral ways.
Yeah, like if we count Megatron, who is basically dead.
Yeah. Listen, he has a huge gaping hole in his chest. Like, that's pretty visceral. We have had, every episode that we've recorded so far, a named major character has been murdered.
Or that one Viacon who got, shout out to that one Viacon who Bulkhead just...
I mean, that is well, but, like, I'm talking about, like, major named characters.
And don't worry, without saying anything, that will continue next week. They play fast and loose with a lot of named characters in this show.
Yeah. So, anyway, just like, in like retrospect, I can't believe it. And also like the idea that this was airing at the same time as Friendship is Magic is very funny to me. Thinking of it like that was like the core of the hub.
Right, because I mean, the core thing with Prime is that like it was a show, it was like a kid's show that was skewed darker in tone, and also has these like long-running story arcs. Like it's a partially episodic show, but as we get deeper into it, there are going to be a lot of characters who like have very long things that connect back to stuff early on.
It is probably one of the most plot-driven entries into the franchise. Yeah.
And so yeah, that Optimus kind of muses about like how he basically goes like it's a shame that such a grand warrior chose to follow Megatron's path to its inevitable conclusion, being a corpse in the desert after being murdered by a tiny yellow bug man.
Yeah.
And Soundwave sees all of this. He's still watching. Also, I believe this is the first time we see his vehicle mode in this episode. When he's flying around the Starscream. I don't remember if we saw it in episode 5 or not.
I can't recall.
Yeah, so back at base, Optimus is like, Bumblebee, I'm going to be straight with you. What you did was incredibly risky and kind of stupid, but wildly brave, and I might not be standing here if you hadn't done that. So full honors, soldier. I don't remember if he gets promoted to warrior class or not, but it's definitely like big step. We're getting there. We're getting there, buddy boy.
I seem to remember. I have it in my head that he continues to be called a scout throughout the series.
Yeah. I think becoming a warrior is like a big driving force for Bumblebee's character. So then Bulkhead and Arcee roll up with the kids. And Ratchet's very excited, like, all right, tell me how you did. I know that y'all aced these projects. And everyone's like, well, no. And we get a little montage of all of the projects Ratchet built for them.
Yeah, so first up is Miko, who has, like, a perfect replica of Cybertron, and her teacher's like, and what planet is that supposed to be? And she's like, Cybertron.
And it falls off of its, like, fishing line with a heavy thunk, because it's made of fucking metal. So, Ratchet appears to have built Jack, a machine that just sort of thrashes around.
I think it was supposed to be a functional bone saw, TBH. Like...
Oh no.
Like, that's what it looked like. Because it had, like, that chainsaw-looking shit. I think it's supposed to be a functional bone saw.
Yeah.
But the best of them is Raph.
is insane.
Yeah, right. So Raph goes up with this giant metal volcano, and the teacher's like, "Dare I even ask, Mr. Esquivel, is it active?" And Raph doesn't say anything. He just like sort of winces and presses the button, and an entire laser blasts the roof of the school off.
Ratchet, we're supposed to be in masquerade mode here. You can't make a child a plasma volcano. Frankly, I was surprised Raph did not get expelled immediately for bringing a weapon of mass destruction into a school. But yeah, Ratchet's just like, well, clearly they're not teaching you the right stuff, because all of that would have been great in Cybertronian high school. So maybe have you ever thought your society is the problem? And I do want to say, continuing the like, they did not have, the budget stuff of not having a lot of human characters. The classroom shots are all the same. It is facing towards the whiteboard with the kid in question in the middle of the frame, and the teacher talking from off screen. No other students.
Yeah, I mean, it's close enough that you can't really see any of the other chairs anyway. But yes, they very, very minor.
They know what to spend their budget on. It's not making a bunch of high schoolers.
It's cool robot fights.
Yes.
And horny robot moments.
Yeah, I was about to say, and sensual moments between Starscream and Megatron.
Live Laserbeak reaction.
Pretty much. So, like, then we cut to the sickbay at the Nemesis where Starscream is growling through gritted teeth. It's so wonderful to have Megatron safe and sound back in sickbay. I wish him a speedy recovery.
Let us hope that our master pulls through.
Soundwave just stands in the background looking at him like, yeah, I know.
How's it going, dude? Pretty good, it doesn't seem.
So that's where we end, and that is the last we'll see of Starscream, because the next episode is sort of a bottle episode. Episode 7.
Last we'll see of Starscream this week.
Yes, he'll be back. Don't worry, folks. He'll be back next episode. But we can't play the hits all the time. He's got to rest in his trailer every now and then. So we open up here with Bumblebee and Bulkhead in the Arctic, following some kind of signal. Cold as fuck.
We get a title scene, a title screen that says John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, when I saw that, I was like, I'm watching The Thing. And indeed, the thing they find is a ship frozen in the ice. And let me tell you, I've seen enough movies to say, leave that shit in there. Just leave it in there.
No heart emoji.
So they find the ship. This, like, I think they believe it's some kind of stasis pod. It's Cybertronian and make, clearly. So you're like, well, we got to figure out what this is. Maybe there's a guy in here. Maybe there's a friend. So they're back at base, and Ratchet is making sure that they and the audience knows, hey, prolonged exposure to sub-zero temperatures can be extremely fatal for Cybertronians. So just keep that in mind, Bulkhead and Bumblebee and kids watching at home. As we kind of cut to the pod being thawed out, and something starts crawling out of it.
Something.
A husky crawls out of it and acts real fucking weird.
Yeah. Half husky, half wolf.
Yep. So they after the title sequence, we see Optimus and Arcee getting ready to head out there to look for more pods. And Miko, Raph, and Jack arrive, and Jack is like, hey, I was wondering why I had to carpool today. What's up? And Arcee's like, yeah, I'm going on a mission. And he's like, I guess you'll have to leave your old partner behind. And she's like, I'm going on a mission to the Arctic, stupid.
Yeah, well, what Jack says is, well, it's a beautiful day outside. It'd be such a shame if you felt guilty because you had to miss going on a ride on such a beautiful day. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to the Arctic. And Jack's like, and I'm staying here where it is warm. Good luck.
And Raph's like, but going to the Arctic sounds so cool. Can I come? And immediately right here, Prime Optimus shows he is the polar opposite of cool Uncle Armada Optimus. Because when kids asked to go to the Arctic in Armada, he was like, yeah,
Nope.
sure.
Yeah.
Fuck it. But here he's like, Raph, the Arctic is dangerous even for us. I am not bringing a child into these sub-zero temperatures. And I love this moment, though, because Raph is obviously very sad about, like, oh, man, all right. And so Optimus goes, but maybe I'll bring you back a snowball. He's so dad. It's truly maximum dad.
Yeah. Big deal.
And that kind of raises Raph's spirits. And Ratchet's like, all right, so I've affixed your badges with these temperature sensors that'll start flashing blue when you're getting close to the danger zone. So as soon as they start flashing blue, you gotta get out of there. And he looks in the camera and says, do you hear that, kids? If they start flashing blue, it means they're gonna die.
And they're like, yeah,
says,
okay, Ratchet.
Whatever. I'm sure nothing will ever go wrong. And so they go through the ground bridge, and immediately after it closes, the ground bridge console explodes. Oops. So we get Raph is like, hey guys, how about a video game tournament? Last one standing wins, which I say, Raph, that is how tournaments work in general. I would say is generally how that works, unless you're playing some kind of weird round robin. Because he's got, like, all right, so he's got B and Bulkhead and Nico and Jack here. But immediately Ratchet's like, no playing games. We got some business to attend to over here. So Raph's like, all right, well, at least we'll have the three of us. And then Miko snatches the controller.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
I'm gamer.
Yeah, and she, like, hands the other one over to Jack, and she's like, all right, let's go. And Jack's like, no, I'm a nerd, and I hate having fun, so I'm gonna pass on this one. And then Miku...
Well, see, I read it more... I read it less like that. I read it more as, like... Because he tries to hand the controller over to
not
Raph.
at this point.
Right.
Not at this point.
Yeah,
Right. So what I was saying is, so he's like, no, I'm a nerd and I hate having fun. So I'm gonna pass, but y'all have fun. And Miko's like, Miko basically casts a spell of toxic masculinity, and she's like, what? You afraid? You pussy? You afraid you're gonna lose to a girl? And Jack's like, yeah, all right, fine, I'll play.
And Raph's clearly all sad, like, oh, I wanted to play video games. And so, Jack's a bro. He's like, hey, you want to play for me, Raph? I'm not too good at these video games. And Raph's like, yeah, thanks for the gesture, but it's kind of already been ruined for me. I'm just going to go wander around.
Yeah. He's like, please kick Miko's ass for me. And Raph's like, no, I'm going to go pretend somewhere else.
To be an airplane.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on there. Raph is simultaneously 12 and 5. So...
And the world's smartest man. And the world's simplest creature.
He can hack into the Pentagon, and also he likes to pretend to be an airplane.
Yeah.
So he's hanging out on his own, and he comes across a funny little guy. Oh, he's just adorable. Just the funniest little guy you've ever seen. And he's like, wow, I love this funny little guy. And he throws a nut to go fetch it. He, like, finds a bolt or whatever on the floor. He's like, go catch it. And the thing grabs it and eats it. And, oh, no, you're going to choke, little guy. But it's fine. The little guy didn't choke. And he's like, oh, you're such a cute little guy. I'm going to show you off to all my big metal friends. Meanwhile, Ratchet has opened up the ground bridge console, and the motherboard has bite marks on it.
It's fine.
And he's like, oh, okay, that's not normal. That shouldn't look like that. And that's when Raph... This is so funny. Like, as they're looking through the ground bridge, the intermittent power failure... So Jack actually does manage to beat Miko, but then the power flickers and erases the score, and Miko's like, Tragic. It looks like we lost all our progress on that match. We'll never be able to tell who won that race.
She loses so graciously.
And so then Raph's like, hey, I found a little guy. And all of the Autobots react as though he is just like brought in a fucking nuclear warhead. And all the humans are like, what? It's just why are you guys so freaking out so much? It's just a funny little guy. Look at it. It's so cute. And then we see through the little guy's eyes. And this is always a bad sign when you see it. It's got predator vision.
Yeah, not ideal.
Except instead of thermal imaging it sees stuff that's made of metal. And it sees all three of these big metal guys hanging out here and opens its mouth to endless rows of rotating razor-sharp teeth. Oops. And it attacks Bumblebee.
Yeah, and then it eats Bumblebee's tit.
Yeah, Raph immediately beats it to death with a crowbar.
And it keeps going. It's like, whoa,
yes.
holy unresolved rage issues, Batman. And Jack's okay, bud, I think you got it.
he very gingerly takes the crowbar from him, like, all right, killer, you did it. Woo, let's calm down. This is where Ratchet's looking over Bumblebee's wounds, and he says it's only a mesh wound.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So, turns out the thing they found in the Arctic wasn't actually a stasis pod containing a new friend at all, or even like a cargo pod containing fun treats. It was a scraplet trap that you put on a spaceship to catch all the med-leading vermin that could be on there. And then you shoot it out into space to get rid of it. And it was in stasis in the Arctic. So all the scraplets were sleeping because it was too cold. And then they brought it back to their base and thawed them out.
Oops.
Literally John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, no, it is literally the plot of The Thing, mixed with the Trouble with Tribbles.
Yes. So we cut to Arcee and Optimus in the Arctic. They're walking around, and their badges started flashing blue, and like, all right, time to head back. So Optimus is like, all right, well, let me call the base, and we need Ground Bridge back. No one's answering the phone. Well, shit. So they're stranded in sub-zero temperatures, slowly freezing to death, while Ratchet has to try and fix the ground bridge and also not get eaten alive by swarms of tiny robots.
Yeah, and to that note, like, Ratchet's like, on the other side, Ratchet's like, we can't deal with, like, we need to deal with this because I need to fix the space bridge, because if I don't, Optimus and Arcee are going to die. And Jack's like, wait, what? They're what? And Ratchet is like, they're going to die. I said this earlier.
Yeah. He's like, all right, listen, kid. If we don't, we need to get rid of these fucking scraplets, or else your best bud and your truck dad are gonna be fucking frozen statues, dead forever. So let's get on it, chop chop. And Miko is like, well, I don't really see why you guys are so afraid of these little things. They're fucking tiny and cute. And Bulkhead's like, you haven't seen the things I've seen, kid. Yeah, you haven't seen a swarm of scraplets eat someone from the inside out like I have. It keeps me up at night. I can see it when I close my eyes. The screams, the blood. Miko's like, okay, all right. Got it.
I know that you are the ship doctor, but... Oh, wait, no, it's Bulkhead saying that, right?
Yeah, it's Bulkhead. It's not Ratchet.
Yeah.
So they decide, all right. So, bad news, Autobots are made of metal. Very tasty. Good news, children made of flesh. Not tasty. Therefore, we're going to pair off. Each kid goes on an Autobot. Jack stays behind to watch Ratchet's back as his partner is slowly becoming a popsicle out in the Arctic. So Miko and Raph each go with their respective partners. There is... We periodically cut back to Optimus and Arcee at various stages of death in this episode. This next one, they're trying to find some shelter from the wind. And it's so funny because Arcee makes a crack like, gee, do you think we could drive all the way to Miami? Oh, Optimus, that sounds real nice, don't you think? And he just very deadpan goes, Well, if we try to transform, it'll only hasten the freezing process, and the warmest climate is several thousand miles away. And Arcee's like, yeah, thanks. Thank you,
Dad.
Great. I'm remembering why I don't go on these road trips with you.
Yeah. So yeah, that is it. And then like, Optimus makes. Here's how much of a dad is. That Optimus makes some comment where it's like we should find shelter and try to like keep warm, and like he's such a dad that I don't even want to make oh my god they had to share a blanket for warmth joke here.
No, yeah,
Right?
his relationship with everyone is very paternal.
Yeah.
So, we Bulkhead and Miko are going through the now it's also Alien, by the way.
Right,
so,
that's right.
It's the thing. It's the trouble with tribbles. It's also Alien because they're going through these claustrophobic hallways. Bulkhead, the lights flicker. Bulkhead screams like a girl, as Miko notes. He gets freaked out by getting tangled up in some cables, and she's like, "Hey, Bulkhead, it's okay. It's just cables."
And he like breathes a sigh of relief, and he's like, "Oh, it's silly me." And then a shit ton of scraplets fall on him.
The worst like, imagine if you thought you in the dark ran through a bunch of spider webs and you freak out and the lights come on. It's like, oh, thank God, it's just like some bead curtains. And then a swarm of spiders falls on you from the bead curtains.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So things go quite badly. Immediately, everyone's getting swarmed. Bulkhead gets swarmed. Bumblebee gets swarmed.
I want everyone to understand how genuinely horrifying this is to watch.
Yeah.
Like,
they are. The scraplets are like...
Skyquake got in the last episode, and that was unpleasant. You are seeing characters getting eaten alive, and it is not shying away from that at all. It is quite explicit.
There's all these fucking tiny scraplets crawling all over the character models, getting into all the crevices.
And you can see their metal being, like, shorn away.
Yeah, being stripped away. It's gross. And all of them are just freaking the fuck out, shooting blindly. Like, all the kids have her, like, a crowbar and a fire axe. But in the control room, Ratchet, makes a connection. He tells Jack, go grab that fire extinguisher, because these things are susceptible to cold. Also, we learn here that scraplets can fly.
Oh, yeah. So Jack is, like, watching Ratchet's back, and a whole bunch of them get into the command room or whatever from the ceiling, and there's a moment where they, float in the air, and then they, like, fly towards him, and Jack's like, you could have warned me about that part of it.
A real they fly now type of moment. So yeah, he grabs a fire extinguisher, starts freezing these sumbitches. Cut back to the Arctic, where guess what? Still dying. They have managed to find a little outcropping to hide from the worst of the wind, and Arcee is like dozing off. And Optimus is like, "Hey, no, you gotta stay awake. Do not, under no circumstances, should you fall asleep."
This conversation's actually very sweet.
Yeah.
Arcee, like, has a joke then that's, Arcee's like, all right, what do you want to talk about? It's like, we can talk about who obviously messed things up back at base, which is why we don't have any communication or ground bridge. And Optimus is, like, silent as she does this, and then she goes, I bet it was Bulkhead. He probably tripped over a wire or, ran into something or whatever, and she's like laughing softly about it, but Optimus turns to her, and he has such a sweet line here, which is like, Bulkhead may be too large for this world, but his inner strength is without bounds.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's not really chastising her. He's just like, he's just like sort of so full of love for his team. And it's a really, really sweet moment because he's still being very sweet with her. He's not like being like, Arcee, you shouldn't talk like that or whatever. He's just...
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's worth noting that Arcee starts off like, yeah, maybe the big lug tripped over a cable or accidentally smashed a console. And then she's like, remember when we got to Earth and he ran through those power lines? Man, that was funny.
Yeah.
I wish I got to talk to her before I died. And also, that is a reference to the the 2007 movie, because Ratchet does exactly that in that movie. He runs into some power lines, and it makes his dick feel weird.
Awesome.
So back at the base, we've dealt with the scraplets, and Miko's like, all right, whew, done with that. And Ratchet's like, actually, that was the scouting swarm. And everyone hears a bunch of clanking and buzzing as they realize, oh, the actual scraplet swarm is coming towards the base now that I know everyone's in here, or towards the bridge. And Ratchet realizes, like, well, I fixed everything on the ground bridge console itself, which means that the issue doesn't lie there. The issue is probably that our main Energon line has been severed, and we need someone to go fix it. Hey, you kids are small and to squeeze into tight places, right?
Yeah. And more importantly, he's like, generally I find your fleshiness the least appealing part of you.
Yeah, so he's like, for once it's a boon. So yeah, they go out to patch the hole while everyone else kind of stays behind to fight off the scraplets. And this is also Ratchet is talking about, like, with Arcee and Bumblebee, or with Bulkhead and Bumblebee, like, so we have a problem here, which is that I've been trying to figure out what order of operations we need to do, because if we bring Optimus and Arcee in first, all the scraps are just going to eat everyone here. But we need to find some way to get the scraplets out the ground bridge first, but they won't go because Arcee and Optimus are coming in, and so we need someone to use as bait. So then, okay, let's check back in with the Arctic and let's see what's going on here. Oh, very close to death.
Oh yeah, they're dying. They're big dying. And there's like a moment where Optimus turns to, well, Arcee's like, you know what like really pisses me off about this is that we've been doing this for millions of years, and I've gotten into so many like fights with Decepticons, and you know, I've done all these amazing things, and like, this is how I get got? Really? And Optimus just like takes her hand in his, and it's such a sweet moment.
Well, actually, what it is like, he's at first he's like, you know, Arcee, if I have it written down here, I believe. After she says, like, I didn't think I'd be dying like this in the fucking cold, and he says, this may not be the finish that we plan, but that if this is indeed the end, if we are to become one with the Allspark, and Arcee is the one who takes his hand, and she says, it's been an honor serving with you, Optimus Prime.
And they just hold each other.
And I wrote, bro, stop.
Yeah, it is like me, sadly. You are my dad. You're my dad. Woogie, 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 woogie.
So the scraplets are swarming in, and right before he passes out from presumably blood loss, Ratchet manages to open the ground bridge. And Bulkhead remembers, hey, they need some bait. And he's like, well, I'm the biggest, tastiest morsel here. So he stands up and is like, hey, scraplets, come eat this. Come eat this ass, motherfuckers. And he runs into the ground bridge. Well, okay, I say runs. He, like, stumbles into the ground bridge due to the fact that he is half eaten.
Yeah.
It's just really funny. So, like, the ground bridge opens in the Arctic, and Optimus and Arcee are like, oh, thank God, we're saved. And then Bulkhead stumbles out, covered in scraplets, falls to the ground like, all right, you guys gotta duck. As a gigantic swarm of scraplets pours into the ground bridge and instantly, like, freezes in the cold and falls. It's so gross. They just, like, Optimus has to stand in front of Arcee as a whole bunch of scraplets bounce off of him. Like getting hit by, like, driving through a fucking locust swarm.
Yeah.
In a minivan. Ugh. Gross. So this is a great scene too, because like obviously everybody is super fucked up, including Ratchet. So who's gonna fix everyone up? Well, the humans are interning at Dr. Ratchet's clinic for today, as he's like showing them how to use all the equipment and telling them what to do, and like checking all the temperatures and IVs and all that stuff. And Optimus is like, you know, I think it's great that you've really learned to appreciate our human friends for more than just an annoyance. And Ratchet has this line where he's like, Well, we're just lucky this infestation happened on a Saturday. But-um-bum. Well, actually, the final but-um-bum is Miko screams because there's a spider. And Bulkhead goes, did she just scream like a little girl?
Yeah.
And that's
Ba-dum-bum.
the but-um-bum.
Yeah.
Scrap heap. Yeah, it's fucked up. They almost got eaten and frozen. Oh, God. So, we got some questions here.
And someone else died.
Oh, yeah. We didn't really get to know him that well.
Fair enough.
So let's see. Here in the Discord, we got a few questorinos. So, Casey Cosmetizer asks, what shitty project have you worked the night before to do? What shitty project you worked the night before on do you bring to the school science fair? I feel like I've done this before, but like it was all I remember is that it involved like literally doing it the night before it was due, the whole thing. And it involved a bunch of rocks and dirt in a shoebox. That's all I remember.
Well, I can do the the actual thing I did in college, like 2 hours before it was due, my final project for a class I took called Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Which is
Did it have the exclamation point?
Yes, it did.
Hell yes.
Which is exactly what it says on the tin, and like 2 hours before I remembered that my like final project was due, I put together a crossword puzzle, like a really big crossword puzzle.
Damn.
That's it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has like procrastinated up until the last minute and going like, "Ah, fuck, I got to slap all this shit together." Slipstream Sam asks, "Have any good fight stories? If not, what's your favorite Transformers fight?"
I mean,
on my I have one actual fight story on like my I don't know, third week of freshman year in high school. Someone threw a chair at the teacher and like had to be dragged out of the room by a bunch of other students. Other than that, nothing really remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say I went to public school, so
shit happens.
Like, I went a large public school. Like, my high school had 2,200 students in it.
Mine was around the same, I think.
Yeah. I remember there was one notable one that happened. I think I mostly remembered it because it happened like right at the start of the school day. Like it wasn't even.
Yeah.
It was like
because everyone's fucking tired and cranky and doesn't want to be there.
Class hadn't even started yet, but a girl did get thrown into a radiator by her weave. So.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
As for Transformers fights, I mean, I do really like the final episode of Armada. I think that's just a very good Optimus and Megatron duel. So a lot of most memorable fights are going to be those two, right? Because I'm also thinking of the movie, but I also really like Cyclonus and Starsaber's rivalry in IDW1. They only fight twice, but boy, they're very memorable.
Yeah.
Starsaber crushes a guy's heart while telling him God hates you because he's normal.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I do like the fights between Arachnid and Arcee a lot in this show. Oh, yeah. Those are pretty phenomenally put together.
I'm trying to think, cause like a lot of fights don't actually look all that impressive unless they got a lot of budget behind them, like here or the movie or Armada.
Probably.
I think the final fight in animated is also really good.
So here's the thing: Dark at the Moon, bad movie,
terrible movie.
But the fight where the Autobots join with the U.S. military against the Decepticons,
as they love to do,
against the Decepticons was pretty good. And I would say the other one that comes to mind in the movies is Age of Extinction, the Optimus versus Lockdown.
Yeah,
that one's pretty good.
Pretty cool. I thought of the Driller set piece in Dark of the Moon is really cool. You can call that a fight. I like the final battle between Optimus and Sentinel in that movie.
Revenge of the
and
Fallen had Megatron, Starscream, and I can't remember who else. Grinder, Jesus, versus Optimus. That was also really pretty good.
Rip in peace, Grindor. You were the latest victim in movie Optimus's head obsession.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. He's so brutal in the movies.
He's a fucking nightmare, man. Cassarachnid asks, what's the best funny little guy? I like Cream Zeke.
Okay.
Ah, shit. We gotta have Max on for the Cream Zeke episode. He's the minions of Transformers.
It's true. If we're doing things like the Scraplets, that are like funny little guys until they're not,
until they're like fucked up little guys.
Until they're fucked up little guys, I think I would automatically go to the Winged Lion from Dungeon Meshi.
Oh yeah.
That is.
I've never actually read Berserk. I should sit down and actually read Berserk sometime. But I know of an image from Berserk, which is the panel of Guts and Pals going through a cave, and they see like a nose guy in the dark.
Oh yeah.
And I only know this from that Tumblr post where the audio was like, "What the fuck is that thing?" And it scurries away. Like that's a fucked up little guy to me.
If we're well, it's funny, not fucked up.
That's true, but he is also
He's a funny little guy.
He's kind of a.
If we're not
by value of being in Berserk, he is also a.
If we're talking about funny little guys who really are just funny little guys, then it's Karibo.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, are there any other examples in Transformers you can think of other than our boy Cream Zeke?
I mean, Huffer.
Pipes. He's a funny little guy. What a funny little guy that Pipes is. Nothing bad will ever happen to him.
Frenzy and Rumble.
Oh, that's right. They are funny little guys.
They're funny little guys.
They're the funniest little guys.
The Reflectors.
See, I would say, but they don't do enough to be considered funny little guys. Like,
That's
they just
true.
hang out for a little bit.
Rumble and Frenzy
But
certainly
and Rumble,
are. Yeah.
They are the funny little guys of G1. Cass also asks, back in the Gladiator days, do you think Megatron ever got one of his fights off pay-per-view?
That is 100% how Starscream first saw them.
Absolutely. Fucking WWE Megatron promo. I want to see Prime Megatron do the Steiner Math promo.
Starscream.
I want this more than anything in my life.
Starscream saw it at the Icon Academy and was like, had looked at Skyfire's like, sorry, I gotta go live a Little Mermaid life now, bye. I want to be where the people are, bye.
If you look at me and you look at Grimlock, they have a 50-50 chance of winning. But
we can't do this. We can't do this whole bit, please.
I know I can't because I don't have any water left to do the Prime Megatron voice. Cass asks, who got milkshake ducked and why? Starscream.
Yeah.
Actually, can you be milkshake ducked if no one likes you in the first place?
Well, again, like I find that hard to call, right? Because I think that he actually was in pretty good standing at the start of the show.
That's true.
Right? So right. I do think he got milkshake duck because it's like Starscream. Everyone loves Starscream, the leader of the Decepticons. We regret to inform you that Megatron is the leader of the Decepticons.
Yeah, and at this point, Soundwave is hand painstakingly curating Starscream's eventual call-out post.
Right.
And finally, Cass asks, what do you think the previous batch of human companions made for their science projects, referring, of course, to the Armada gang?
I know for a fact that Rad made a potato battery to show the power of plants.
Uh-huh. I think Alexis created, like... I think Alexis created a perpetual motion machine.
Okay!
Or maybe like a working nuclear battery.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos...
I feel like Carlos just like...
Carlos melted action figures in hydrochloric acid. I just like took pictures. And that was a science project. He got like a C. He passed.
I feel like Carlos just went to like a science museum and picked up something in the gift shop, and then
Of a moon rock.
like either a moon rock, or I was thinking, you know those like balls that collapse into like into like a spiky thing. I think he just did that and like and just like put that up, and they're like, "What is it?" He's like, "It's a ball that collapses into a spiky thing."
Fred/Jim did an entire science project on umami flavor. Billy failed. I don't know. Sorry, Billy. I couldn't come up with anything for you.
Yeah, Billy failed. Actually, I think Jim did an experiment on how empathy affects plant growth.
Yeah. Perfect. There, yeah. That's the secret 50.
Oh, I know what Billy did. He made slime.
Yep, absolutely. Just a big old tub of slime. Yep. Perfect. It was history project. I would say he did a paper on Billy the Kid, but
right,
science project and all.
Of course.
Well, with that, we've been Prime Cuts. You can follow us on Twitter @PrimeCutsPod. You can join our Discord so you can see screenshots of Starscream lovingly straddling Megatron's corpse and whispering into his ear.
And the live Laserbeak reaction.
We need to make that a sticker. I swear. Yeah, it's like all that sorts of things and more. We'll do streaming. We'll be streaming the movies in between seasons of the podcast. I'll try to do some Jackbox nights in the future. All sorts of stuff happening over here. It's popping.
It's popping.
It's popping. It could be more popping though, and that's where you come in, folks. You can follow me on Twitter @DragonSmoocher. I'm Nero. Hi, you've been listening to my voice. I have various other projects going at the moment. You can follow my comprehensive Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast, Radio Free Heidelin, over at Heidelin Radio, the critically acclaimed MMORPG with the free trial that goes up to level 60, including all of critically acclaimed expansion Heavensward. Gotta say that again now that the trial's back open. You can also find me every couple of weeks over at Disney Minus, talking about the muck of Disney Plus. New episode that'll be out when this episode comes out, I believe, is our Bugs Life episode, guest starring Max from Pot of Greed. That was a fun time. Movie isn't very good, but it was a fun podcast.
I mean, it's far from the worst.
It's far from the worst, even the worst Pixar movie, but it's certainly not. It's not really a great second outing, in my opinion.
What do you think's the worst Pixar movie?
Probably either Cars 2 or The Good Dinosaur. Oh
yeah, Good Dinosaur wasn't much of anything, was it?
Yeah, I feel like those two are the ones that everyone points to. This is where things start going downhill. And of course, you can find the old podcast I did with my friend Jane about She-Ra 2018. And friend Jenny I also do with Radio Free Heidelin with She-Ra Podcast over at Podcast Power on Twitter. Seek it out. Good show, good podcast.
I'm Audrey. You can find me on Tumblr and Twitter @OptimumOnPrime. That's my funny robot internet joke. You can also check out the other podcasts I do, and you already mentioned it. It's Pot of Greed. I do it with Max and a bunch of other people, including Argyle, who will be on next week's episode. And it is about the hit card game franchise Yu-Gi-Oh!
Normal anime, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX.
Yeah, everyone's having a really normal time right now. We're definitely not murdering all the main characters right now. It's fine and it's normal. But I think there's going to be some Riverdale-esque shit where they're dead but they're fine.
Oh, yeah.
But
great.
But we'll see what happens there. And that's really it for me. I'm heading into jet lag zone. Luckily, not too badly since I slept 13 hours last night, but...
There you go. Of course, we can't forget to mention Noisepace.xyz, our host network. So graciously giving space to us in all sorts of other podcasts, such as Zero to Zero, I'm blanking because it's late.
The Sonic Shuffle, Kamarocho Radio, Wow Cool Robot, which is one you might be interested in if you're listening to this one. All sorts of cool stuff that's on Noisepace. So check that out at noisepace.xyz. Well,
until next time, folks, I am going to not try and hide from the ravenous fucking metal locust storm that is going to eat all of my game systems, transform and roll out.
I'm going to hit the bricks! Transform and roll out.
Peach.